Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Voxcaster podcast. My name is Max, but you can find me on Instagram under Giant Paints Minis. As always, I'm joined by my co-hosts Kim and Steve, and today we have a very special episode because today's episode is all about Steve.
Yay!
Just all about me. Hello, everyone.
So, Steve, one of the reasons that we got into this whole thing and started it the way we did was, because you and I have a kind of different approaches to the hobby. We see, we enjoy a lot of the similar things, but we have a different approach in things like painting style, how we view different things. And, you and I are both have lots of time in the hobby as well. We've both been around it for, about 10 plus years, whereas Kim is somebody who's very new. So we wanted to, almost open up the paint pot with you and, let's see how this all began. And if you want to dive in on how your hobby journey started.
I literally started, which was, I must have been 8 or 9 years old. My uncle brought around literally like a case of models. It had the old foam castle. If you remember that from back in the day, it was literally with just painted foam with the modelled cobblestone walls. And it had like dark elves. It had like old school Chaos Warriors painted like orange, bright orange with flames and stuff like that. So yeah, I had everything like that. Old copy of Titanicus as well, like the old school where like they look like awkward flamingos, the way they used to stand. There was that, there was Space Hulk. But then I think the true thing for me is I loved those because I was a kid. I'd just put them all on the wall and try and re-envisage Lord of the Rings, Helm's Deep Battle. And then the magazines got announced for Lord of the Rings, which was like every week you get a new little cheeky miniature. And then they arrived and they were stupidly detailed and I couldn't paint for toffee. So like you'd have Frodo Baggins who was just a green blob on a base. And that was it really. That started my gateway to it because then whenever we'd go to like a local city or town, they'd have like a Warhammer shop and I'd go in and I'd be like, oh, so instead of Lord of the Rings, there is now Tomb King Ushabti, or there's Wood Elves on the shelf, or there's like, they used to do the really cool terrain for the Space Marines, like the Angels of Redemption, where it had like the coloured stained glass.
Yep.
Yeah, so they did all sorts of stuff like that, and it just hooked me from there, really. It's only in recent, like the last 5 to 6 years, that I've started to go for box art more than just collect as many models as possible.
No, and I think a lot of people have, not just yourself, but we've had other guests and some of us also. It seems to be a very connecting point through either Lord of the Rings or Star Wars and like little things like that.
Yeah.
That seem to be like almost gravitational points for a lot of us to then dive in.
Stepping stone.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's the gateway. It's the gateway into the Warhammer verse. So when you got into the actual PK side of things, what was the transitional period from going from like Lord of the Rings and like more of like the fantasy style to the more sci-fi setting? And where did you begin in
Well, I
your
think for
40K
me, it
journey?
started really strangely for anything that you see on my feed now. Imperial Guard is
Wow. Okay.
where I
Okay.
started. I saw the Catachans for literally my family, like my dad and stuff like that. My brother loved Predator when I was growing up, which is probably where my
Yeah.
borderline obsession with it has come from. So I saw that the Catachans were instant relatable. It looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's probably the most, in the early 2000s, defined muscle model you've ever seen. And from there, I started with the Catachan. I sent it to our chat the other day, the tank that I still have. So I've still got the guy in the cockpit as well as the guy at the back. And then I went Catachan to Cadians. And I remember like my mum and brother would sit at the table painting them for me because I couldn't. So like doing camo patterns and stuff like that
Oh
all over
my.
these
Yeah.
huge tanks. And yeah, so it was a big thing. I think I just liked it because they were human. Do you know what I mean? It was a relatable
Yeah.
thing. When I was a kid, it was like the first thing that I saw that isn't so different. They looked like old school
Yes.
Cadians looked like frontline troops that you'd see on the news. And they did, like
Yeah.
they really, really did.
Yeah.
And it was just
So,
identifiable.
and sorry, just diving into this as somebody who's been around the hobby, and this is where our hobby experience can kind of come in. But maybe to let Kim know, back in the day, and anybody from Games Workshop, if you're listening, please bring this back. I will buy the entire range. They used to make a lot of different regiments
Yes.
of guard. Did you end up collecting all of them? Like for example,
Destroying.
Kim, you may not know this. We used to have so you had your Catachans, which were your jungle fighters, and you had your Vostroyan, who were your like northern, like Russian
So they were like,
hat-looking
yeah, like
guys.
top hats.
You had your Talar, was it Talarn?
Alan Desert Raiders.
Desert Raiders who were like your like deserty,
So
Oh,
like more
okay.
like drab outfits and stuff like that.
the Attilan Rough Riders now are very loosely
Yes.
based on the Talon from back in the day, like very, very loosely.
So did you end up collecting all the different regiments, or did you
Yeah,
kind of like
so
only stick to a couple that you were like, these are my guys?
I had a squad of each. So I had Steel Legion, Audion Guard, you had your Valhallan Snowborn, all that sort of stuff. So like I had all the
Mhm.
original metal ones of them. But
Yeah.
then because it was a lot easier for me and accessible to build, Cadians ended up being the one thing that because they kept producing them in plastic, it was easier to do. And because Cadians was so simple to just body and legs were one, and then you just stuck the arms on and that was it. Like arms and a head and you were away.
Yeah.
It's come a long way since then. But yeah, it was just enjoyable at the time. I still love the Vestroyans. If they did a reboot of Vestroyans, I'd be absolutely all over it.
Well, and it's funny because when you talk to like people that have, sorry again, that have been kind of been around in the hobby for a little
No,
bit,
no, it's okay. I get
all
it.
of us kind of have our favorite like regiment or whatever that they
Yeah,
did
yeah.
back in the day that we kind of wish that we like picked up a few models now that they're not around, right?
Like
Like
the
like
snipers
I personally
for the Vestroyans. Do you remember like the models where
I was
like
just gonna say the Australians were my favorite, and I wanted the whole
yeah,
like sniper loadout. Everything. I was
the
just gonna say
Vostroyan
that.
snipers where they brought the tactical rock around in 2003, like they were all stood 1 foot on a tactical rock, and that was it. Like they started that craze.
Well, and you know what's funny? Back in the day when these old Catachan kits were released, those were seen as like the pinnacle of model design.
Yeah,
And now, today, we make memes of those models.
literally that. Like Katachan were, as I said like earlier, like stupidly defined, like really good models, and now everyone's just screaming for a kill team so we can have updated models. That's the one thing everyone's screaming for. Everyone's like, but they're just so old. So this Cadian's got love. Cadian's got love because Cadia got blown up. I was like, that's the one reason they got love is because their planet went pop and they needed new models. That's the reason they got love. Deathcorks of Krieg.
You know,
They've had
pop.
3 books about them. Like,
I don't think.
yes.
Do you know about the fall of Cadia?
No, no, I've heard it
Oh,
mentioned,
lovely.
but I don't know anything about it.
So the names of these regiments are the planets they come from.
Okay,
Mm,
So like the Catachan regiment is from the planet Catachan.
yes.
pretty straightforward.
Like Vestroyans and so on and so forth. Like Krieg came from Krieg. Like that was
Yeah.
the whole thing. Like Death Corps of
And
Krieg.
and Cadians come from Cadia, but Cadia was the closest guard regiment to the Eye of Terror, which is like the opening into the warp that
Mhm.
exists in the real
They all have
society.
Okay.
purple eyes.
So they were very like battle hardened. They were like the constantly fighting off chaos guys. And then in recent 40K lore, the planet literally got
It popped.
Yeah, like it was so Abaddon's, if you've heard of it, the Black Crusades that he did. So like when as you explore the lore, Kim, you'll see it like come out like every time Abaddon has been like, I'm doing a crusade, I'm doing a crusade. And every time he'd failed. And I mean every time. Something had always stopped him, other than this time. Where they were like, oh, for the narrative where we're going to bring Primaris back. There you go. There's a planet that's gone bang, like gone. And that were it. They got rid of it. And they got rid of Creed and brought his daughter out as a model, which was
yeah.
a very controversial move at the time. It was because everyone loves Creed, but then
Right.
through Warhammer Plus and everything else, they've revealed that he's sat in the vault is Creed. You know which episode I mean, don't you, Max?
Sorry, didn't they also do that to Pask as well? They did it to both, right? Because Pask had that you could buy the Commander Pask Tank Commander model,
Yeah, yeah,
and then they had the narrative book come out about her, right?
yeah,
I have seen her model.
Yes, yeah. We've seen.
yeah. So they've now so like the Cadian frontrunner now is Minsk, innit? Minsk is the new
Yes,
Cadian frontrunner now because she got her own model a year ago, and now she got a box set. Which
yes.
is all of her stuff. So she's the new front runner for Katie, really, because they did it with Creed's daughter, and she got 1 book, and then that was it. We've heard nothing else.
Well, honestly, Mink's little like squad she comes with, stunning models. The commissar with the axe behind his back,
Yeah,
like
I would agree.
gorgeous set. I've honestly looked at that box set, and this is like a thing about me. I love these one-off little boxes. So like if I don't collect guard, for example, but I see a cool box set and it's like a narrative box, that's the squad. You don't have to play with it if you never do, but it's just a
Yeah.
cool thing to own. I will buy that. 100% I will buy that.
I think
So
GW
that's
Excel.
one of those boxes that I want to go get just to have it,
Yeah,
kinda
yeah.
like Gaunt's Ghosts also, like
Yeah, I think single boxes where GW really does come into their own. So as you've just said, Gaunt's Ghosts, you've got her Command Squad, you've got the Slaves to Darkness TV show they did for Warhammer Plus. You've got that box set. You've got Black Talon. Black
mm,
Talon are the nicest Stormcast models to date, and all of them sit behind
so
a
nice.
locked
They're
paywall of
so
like
good.
£45 for five. But
They're
like
so good.
they're the nicest models going, and they all come with a helmeted, unhelmeted option. And even I am a hater of Deepkin, but the Deepkin in that box set, the one from the show, is really, really nice with like the fish circling
Lorai.
around. Yeah, like
Lorai, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's a stunning model. But they've done it a lot, but they always seem to do they bring it out, it sells out, they don't stock it for a year, and then they go, oh Christ, that sold well. Let's bring it back. Like I'm glad to see it, don't get me wrong. But yeah, it's hard.
So then, my question going back to you, Steve, is then, with your interest in guard regiments and stuff like that, did you ever have an interest in doing like a Gene Stealer cult version? I know Xenos has never been like a huge thing for you, but it is technically like Brood Brothers is
Yeah,
a
they do use the kit.
thing.
Yeah, I've never been tempted, don't get me wrong. I think the closest I've ever got to that sort of Xenos was Space Hulk for the Gene
Okay.
Stealers that were within there.
Yeah.
Gene Stealer cults, I find them incredible. Like, I find them really thrilling. They've got beautiful models from, like, the motorbikers. The motorbikers I'd love to just buy to take the heads off and put, like, anything. You could put Krieg, you could put Arbites and make it, like, Judge Dredd on the roll. Like,
Yes.
absolutely, like, you could do anything with them. But for me, Gene Stealer culture's just never tickled that itch. Do you know what I mean? Like, Caesar Sigmar, which is fantasy Imperial Guard, all over it. Like, absolutely. But not. It's never been about the Xeno life, really. It's a strange one for me.
When you first started painting, did you always have the style that you paint in now, or when did you kind of transition into that style and kind of find what spoke to you?
I think that transition only happened after lockdown, probably. So my page
Oh,
actually used
interesting.
to be painting with Steve, and it was painting with
But nobody
Steve.
wanted to do that.
Yeah, literally that, Max, where I changed my name. So no, it changed probably about a year and a half ago, 2 years, because it was very much brush control that I'd learned. So lockdown, I bought the Space Marine half of Indomitus. Yes,
Yep.
Indomitus. And like I've still got photos. I just don't think I posted them because like I got Uhu glue. I painted them as wolves. I like trimmed the Judiciar's blade into a point. Like, like I got the like fully absolute sacrilege to that box set. Like, got Valhalla and Blizzard and did it up to like thigh height on one of my models. And just like piled it all up and just had a lot of. I think during lockdown I used it more of an escape. Do you know what I mean? Just something to do,
Yeah.
to pour into. And since now been able to be a bit more free with it, that's when I've really tried to push myself because I could do it. And it was last year when Dominion came out. I bought the big Stormcast box set and I was like, I tell you what, a lot of flat surfaces, nice angles. Let's try it.
Sorry, Steve. Sorry, last year was Skaven Tide. Did you
Dominion.
mean Skaven Tide?
Scaventide, yes. Scaventide, not Dominion. It was Liberators and Prosecutors got their revamp. So yes,
Yeah,
Scaventide I bought
yeah.
last year.
Sorry, the skate. I'm sorry. I'm just
No,
pointing
no,
out.
it's
Skaven Tide was like 10 times nicer than the Dominion box. I'm hoping
yeah.
you got the 10 times nicer box than
Dominion
not
was
as nice.
nice for the big boys, the Annihilators. The Annihilators
Yeah,
really
for the
did.
Annihilators and Yndrasta, but then they put Annihilators and Yndrasta in every box that edition.
Yeah, not wrong. Not wrong. But yeah, I literally got Scaventide and did like Liberator after Liberator, did the Hallowed Knights, then I did the Knights of
Really?
Heldenhammer, and settled on the Black Armor, which is where it stemmed from really. Ever since last year, I've really been trying to master the black off blue highlight
Yep.
because
Yeah.
I've had this discussion with Den and Ultramarines are beautiful if you want attention on Instagram and are the easiest to edge highlight in every metal style. Because that blue is so forgiving, you can get away with it. Black armor, if you cock up, everyone sees it a country mile away because it looks chalky. Like that's
Yes.
the biggest thing. So like try to master it. Like I've got some up on my shelf where I can see like from last year, even painting faces to like now, like my custode and my arbite that I've been doing. It's a big challenge. But then I've chucked Space Wolves in this year because they were my starting army for my adult life, not Imperial Guard. But yeah, so I did them during lockdown, and that's why I've been doing them a bit more justice, really.
No, and I think, the I like how you bring up the black paint for trying to do stuff like that, because I think a lot of people struggle with, doing highlights from black. One thing that I personally find, and maybe this is just me, but let me know if, in your experience as well. I find that when you're doing a black edge highlight, the difference between it being just enough to that's too much and now you gotta go back and redo it,
Yeah.
is the pickiest with black over any other
Mm.
color. So that's why sometimes you'll see one edge, it's perfect, but then its conjoining edge almost looks a little too thick, and then it looks off. It makes the whole miniature, like the way our eyes work, and kind of like it
Right.
doesn't
Yeah, yeah.
align proper
It
and
stands out
stuff.
too much, like, on certain edges. Like,
Yes,
I found it
yes.
massively on this Arbite. So yesterday, like, as you know, I've not been 100%, but, I spent probably about 2 hours trying to do a leg because on the Arbite leg, it comes down as a normal knee, but then it's got an interior highlight around the inside of the knee pad as well. So when you're pushing
Okay.
your highlights to the extent you do, you can't push the interior too much. I've done it about 6 times now because I can't get that highlight just right because it pushes too much and then it draws the attention from the outside to the inside of the knee and it just doesn't look right. So he's currently only got one leg finished now.
It may
So
just be a model that has one leg forever.
I'm sorry,
see,
did he say
no,
that he
I can't
redid the
allow it.
same part 6 times?
Mm.
He redid the
That's when
same
I would
part
just set it down and walk
6
away
times?
and go to
Yeah, yeah,
the
like, I'll happily
other
Hey, I would
hobby.
go crazy.
I will happily redo a part until it's right.
Honestly, your patience ability and anybody who edge highlights or does heavy metal style, like your guys' ability of patience is something I will never
Unmatched.
understand because I just don't have it. I'm not built.
It pays off because from what you've been posting lately, like, everything is looking amazing.
Yeah.
Especially, I know, like I've said before, but your swords especially, I
I
love the way that you do them.
pushing it with swords. Like, you've said it now, and I'm like, I really wanna push it because I see a lot of people do the glaze, like the dark green to light green and then the yellow.
Yeah.
I have tried to do it so many times. I've tried Louise Sugden's prismatic sword. I've tried everything. Can glaze, but I just don't think I'm quite at that level where I'm proficient yet enough that I'd be happy. So I'm quite content in my swords at the minute. Like, as much as you compliment them, they're so simple. Like, it's literally just 3 colours. It's literally just a dark,
It looks
dark
so
blue.
confusing.
Yeah, it's literally just a dark blue base coat, and then just edge highlight like armor, and just leave a larger edge, and then a thin edge, and then pure white down the middle, and it makes it look like it's lit up. And if you want to be fancy and draw lightning, then do it.
No, but I think there's a lot to be said about that too, because a lot of the times, a lot of us overthink a lot of our processes and
Mm.
procedures, and we look at something that's really well done, and we think, oh my gosh, this must have spent hours, and how many paints did they use? It's like sometimes just less is more, and I think if
Yeah, yeah.
we sometimes realize that, it's like, "No, wow, okay, maybe that is just one color." It's like, when I've had you guys rave about my Azerman cape that I did, and everybody
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, "How did you do it? It's so well blended and everything." Guys, it's one coat of paint. I only did one coat of
Mhm.
one
Yeah, you
color.
just
That's it.
pre-shaded correctly.
And that's all it is, right? And I've had multiple people message me, "Well, how did you highlight this? What color did you use? This and this." But I think what Steve is saying there is like, yeah, sometimes it's just super easy and it's not
Yeah,
overcomplicated. And sometimes just, take a breath and just realize like it's just
yeah.
paint at the end of the day. And sometimes apply 1, 2 colors and see how you like it from there. And progress from that point, not trying to make the whole plan up from zero.
Yeah, I think it's very much repeatable. That's why I do my swords like that. Like, I'm using my green and my red, my green and my blue. I stick to them because they're the 2 colours which are associated with everything. Like, I know people do
Yeah.
orange, like orange for Votan. I've got them sat on my shelf, Votan. I've not even thought about it yet because it's the whole running white down the inside and making it like a lava blade. Like, probably not. I'll do red.
Red would be really
I'll
cool.
probably do a red power blade is what I'll probably do and run something like corn red and black and then just highlight the edges
Yeah.
with pure corn and then squig orange. And
Yeah.
and literally just a 3 colour instead of. I see so many tutorials of use 18 different colours and glaze this way and glaze that. And your weapons are not your focal point on your model. As much as I understand for display painting, it's essential. I think for what I try to achieve, like heavy style but tabletop plus, it's not always needed. I think is the biggest thing I can say. You shouldn't spend like 3 hours on a weapon. To me, as much as I'll spend 60 hours on a model, I just can't spend that much time. Like, I do want a bolter. Don't get me wrong, But yeah. But yes, so what you were saying about weapons, I just don't think even display level painters should be spending. I mean, I shouldn't. I won't say should or shouldn't. I think just for me, for the like the standard I go for, I can't really justify spending more than like an hour on a weapon because other than a bolter, which like as Max knows, like 40k, like Arbites, I'll probably spend upwards of 2 to 3 hours like on the shield and the power ball, making it look right. Like that's fine. But like run of the mill chainsword on my space wolves, base coat, highlight, done. Like it's never gonna be more. Like it's just I can't justify it.
I think it says a lot though when some like when a painter is able to do something that is simple
Yeah.
but looks complicated. Like I think when you're able to perfect it to the point where newcomers or rookies or people who look at it first glance say like, "Oh, that looks super complicated," but when broken down, it's like 2 or 3 steps.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's when you've kind of gone into that point of painting where you kind of know what you're doing
I wouldn't say I know what I'm doing. I would
or
I'd
pretend
say
you
that
know what you're doing.
I objectively know how to do certain things well, but I think that's just a typical thing with our hobby, which is repetition. Like I've done that many power swords that way now that I can autopilot it. Like that's the like you
Yeah.
guys do with speed paints. Like Max could pick up a Seraphon and instantly be able to just go, that's how the highlights will go, like and dry brush it and work it all out, and that's fine. But like if you gave me the shield off one of those Seraphons, I could make it true metallic metal with just like 3 paints and like happily know exactly where to place highlights just from
Mhm.
working with trim and stuff like that often. Like, yeah.
Yeah, but that's more than one color.
It might be more than one color, but it's true metallic metal. Metal has more than one color.
It reflects some
Exactly. It's got different phases.
but other than maybe diving more into, like, painting swords and sword techniques, is there another technique that you've kind of been interested in diving more into?
That's a difficult one because I constantly try. Max will have seen this multiple times that I pester people for glazing advice. I've done it with Hellglazer. I've done it with Stevie
Yep.
because it's such a different thing for everyone. Like Ross just went, sort of wing it. I look at it and I figure out if it looks right. Some people like Towing Imperial Great Good on Instagram. He just again he just airbrushes it and then just goes, that's it. So he does a glazing gradient instead, like where he just gradients to color with the airbrush, which is fine. I think airbrush this year is something I will probably invest in.
Yeah.
Do it.
And just for the smoothness of base coats and equally speeding up my time at the desk. Like for like spray, I could just build my wolves in an afternoon, spray all my rust
Yep.
spray, and then it's highlighting, which is where my practice comes in more so than base coating. It's yeah,
Well, and one thing to remember with an airbrush though is that like you do have a lot of like maintenance time to add to it.
yeah, of course.
And that's where like a big of headaches with airbrushes is like the maintenance of it. There are some incredible ones. We're not sponsored by nobody, but
We
we want to
wish.
be. We use Harder and Steinbeck, the Ultra series,
Yes,
I
yes.
believe. And honestly, when here in Canada, it's 150 Canadian, which would be like, like 90 quid for you guys,
Yeah.
around 95 quid. And then for that one, what I like about it is it's the first one. So it has a flow stopper built into it, the switch.
Yes.
So for example, one thing that normal airbrushes can do, which sometimes it can make a cool effect, is you can pull back the paint before you apply the air, which can then kind of do like a splatter effect. So if you're doing like
Yeah, yeah.
blood or like stuff like that, it can add cool effects. But for newcomers, this is usually a drawback because it
Yeah.
will dry the tip and then that's how you mess up your
Mhm.
airbrush. With this, it doesn't allow that. So that's one. Two, up behind where the trigger is,
Yeah.
there's a little nozzle that's built into the airbrush that you can turn it. So for example, you turn it and there's a setting that says prime. So when you set it to prime,
So it sets
when you
it
pull the
perfectly for
nozzle
you to open.
back, it stops it. It's a nozzle stop, but you just set it to whatever setting you want and it automatically does it. And there is a free flow setting as well, obviously.
Yeah, of course, if you wanna do it whatever you want, like, yeah.
But for people starting out who don't understand, distances, PSI, how do I angle it, hold it, stuff like that, because those are things that matter with airbrushing.
Agreed. Yeah.
I just recommend that one because it's all pre-built into it and it's fairly like a not expensive one to start. The
Yeah.
compressor I feel like is very important though.
I would agree with compressors, like, but to be fair, it was Matt, I think, who sent me it. There's an airbrush on Amazon that he uses for all his now. So if you look at like Towering Pretty Good and you look at all his work and how smooth it is, he uses £100 airbrush and compressor. Doesn't use anything else.
Oh,
He's
that's really
literally
good.
using a budget compressor and airbrush, which has got like 5-star reviews from hobby people. And then
Jeez.
worst case, you just get the compressor, which seems fairly reliable, air trap built in, moisture trap built in, and then invest in an Infinity. Do you know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
like get used to it, learn your baseline skills, and then spend on the Infinity. I've looked at it a few times because they do look for what he's if he's achieving that with about 6 months of practice, then it's possible. And I think it'd just be the nice smooth blends. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of my painting relies on 3 thin coats of rust grey on a Space Marine, and in reality, I could just do like on the sub assemblies, and I'm pretty much there on practicing highlights. So it's a very real. I think the thin coats is what makes the difference as well, doesn't it? I think that's the
Mhm.
biggest thing you can see with airbrush painters is how thin the application is. Like it really is. I
Yeah.
know that people like eliminate, you know what I mean? The guy who does OSL insanely,
Yeah.
like there's amazing uses for it, but I think I literally want it just to improve my smoothness of coats. I don't want to do anything fancy. I might do the gradients on power swords, like you mentioned, like do it because a lot of people tape, do one color, do the next, and then just
Yeah, I
glaze
have
over the
seen
top.
that.
Yeah, like that's a very reliable way of doing it with airbrush. So it's tempting. That would be the one skill I'd like to expand to. And flesh tones through an airbrush are stupid.
I think if you start diving into airbrushing, you should document it, the process for everyone.
I can't even
Show
document my daily
beginner to
process.
pro.
I think I have been tempted to either do the airbrush or I've been toying with the idea of creating my own acrylic paints for certain models and doing a little thing on my
Oh,
page called the Pigment Forge, ordering pigments and creating different colours and seeing how they apply. So yeah, we shall see.
Yeah,
We
that'd
shall
be a
see.
really cool side project to work on.
Yeah, exactly.
With with the way that you paint and you're somebody that, you've mentioned you go back several times to make sure it's, done right and everything. Do you find that the perfectionism can be a blessing or a curse more so?
Curse.
Curse.
that was fast. That
Damn.
was
It's a
Wow.
curse.
instant.
Get that locked and loaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a curse. Like, I think there's a lot of people in the hobby who've been saying this recently, is that comparison is the thief of joy because you can
Yes, we've
sit
heard
on
that a lot.
Instagram and look at these heavy metal painters like Den, like other people, and just feel like crap about your own work.
Mhm.
And it's very, very easy to do. And then you end up on an absolute doom spiral of why is my work not good enough?
Yeah.
When the best thing, like I think all of my last investments in this hobby have been boxes of models that I painted in 2020. So I've got Sisters
Ooh.
of Battle, I've got the like I've got old school Wolves as well, and then Kassakin just to show my self improvement
Mhm.
because that's who you should compare to. And I know it's been said a million times, but it is true. You should look back at your own feed from when you started to where you are now
Yeah.
because it's so easy to get lost, as I say, like comparing to these pins who've got 20,000 followers and they've got, look at Josie Da Vinci, Angel, like they're all incredible painters, but they do that full time. They do that 5 days a week, 365.
Mhm.
Compared to us, we paint when we can around other jobs, around everything else. It's sometimes you've got to take a step back for perspective rather than perfectionism. And I think that's something I'm learning more this year than ever is that perfectionism is everything. Finish a marine, see where it's at, document it, do your next one and learn. I think that's where I'm starting to understand the perfection side more is stop trying to make one perfect, use it as a lesson. Lessons learned, write it down if you have to, write your recipe down and do the next one. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's
and
where I'm at.
no, and that's a great point too. And in an upcoming episode that we have coming with Sam from Warpgate Studios, this is something that he mentions as well, where he mentions the fact that the way that he's progressed in his painting style is he just gets one thing done, he learns from it, he says, okay, this could be better, I want to improve this, or maybe this, change
Yeah.
this. And he doesn't go back and redo it. He just applies that to the next project and the next project and the next project. And he said, well, by the time you're at your 10th you've already learned like 10 new skills. So the 10th model is going to be so well done compared to your first one. you're gonna be laughing at the stuff you used to do. And I think having that type of mindset, like you've mentioned now, where you just look at it, okay, cool, document it, move on, is such a better way of doing it than sometimes we also get in our heads of like, oh, my entire 2,000 point list has to look identical on the table. No, like that's so unrealistic. If you have a family and a child, or something happening in your life, you can't tell me that child is going to stay perfectly quiet every single time you want to paint for 3 hours. Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, life happens, and we need to just enjoy what we can get.
Yeah, I think unless you're going to get commission painted by a studio and everything's going to be the same standard, or you're going to employ someone to paint at that standard for you, then it's never going to be the same. But that's not a bad
No.
thing. If your Gretchen at the very front look a bit rough and ready, that's fine, because by the time
Mhm.
you've learned about your green skin recipe at the very front, at the very back, your orcs look amazing. And
Yeah.
Y
like you've also said, that I think people need to let go that everything needs to be display standard. Unless you paint for display, don't obsess about every detail. Because as you've said to me before, like from 5 foot away, you're not going to see it. You're going to see green, you're going to see the armor color, and maybe the top level highlight, and that's probably about it. No one's going to notice stage one highlights, which are so subtle. Like I
Mhm.
use oxidization green, which is essentially staggered on scale green on top of Corvus black. And it is so subtle, it's untrue. Unless I do the colors on top, you don't see it. No one's going to notice that unless they pick up my model and go, "Oh, you've done that." Like, it's not.
Yeah, and I feel like too, like, that mindset can lead to faster burnout, and it can lead to a harder burnout, always thinking that what you're doing is never good enough, and you're spending hours and hours on something for you to only get upset or, like, not like
Yeah.
it in the end. So I feel like allowing yourself to make those mistakes and to also, yeah, allow the progression to happen like naturally, I feel like helps with maybe pushing the burnout off for at least a couple weeks.
Wait,
Yeah, yeah.
you guys take hours to complete miniatures?
Oh,
Oh
here we
yeah,
go.
sorry.
Sorry, you
We
two, you two
forgot
don't
that
do,
you're not a
you two don't
normal
do hours.
person.
Well, no, Kim does. Kim uses a size 0 and uses a size 26 brush.
I've gotten my Mark II tacticals down to like 26 minutes a model now. Like, I got that recipe
There
on
you go.
lock.
Like for me, I've still got him where he's still sat without a backpack or a head at
For
the
all our
minute.
listeners, it's a Death Watch, a mini that came in the new Death Watch Kill Team that recently came out.
That's been sat there. And to be fair, he's gained an arm and a shoulder pad this week, which is better than what he did before.
No,
He's got,
Next
that's
week
wild
though,
stuff.
he may
yeah. I mean, I base coated his skull on his backpack, but it's not happened. I painted an Arbite leg instead.
They might start calling you Sonic Steve if you keep going at this pace.
Yeah, honestly, mate, it's mad. Like, look at this. I think the biggest thing you've mentioned burnout there, and I think the best thing I do to avoid it is switch projects. As much as I do a lot of black armor, I do Arbite's armor, which is a slightly different recipe to my Death Watch. Or I will do my Custode, which is Incubi Darkness mixed in, so it's green black highlights instead. Or I totally change the ball and paint Stormcast, which are silver, which has been a bit of a change. I have learnt a lot in that, and I think there's going to be a lot. I would like to do another Force of Stormcast really, because as good as it is for my black armor, I think the silver looks really clean. But it's just I've done 2 tests on it now. I did my Hallowed Knight last year. I've done another Liberator this year. I just can't quite get the blue tinge right. I spoke to Millie Paints about it this week, and she's recommended Army Pit Fanatic dark blue tone. She's shown me some examples, and it looks really nice. But it's either that, or I'm going to go to a purple wash and change it
Oh,
slightly
purple.
and give it a purple tint.
Yeah,
Just for something
give
a
it more of that
little bit
dark.
gradient. Yeah, he's like, go for like an Iron Warrior's armor, purple tint it. But I am going to dig out a dry brush and apply all my metallics with dry brush. Just like
Wow.
for stippling, Max will know what I'm meaning with this. Like stippling wise, it increases your application like 30% quicker. Like you
Yeah.
can finish applying all the silvers in like a minute and then just wash.
Well, and this is something that I was going to bring up in next week's episodes. So a week after this episode launches, in our first hobby hangouts or hobby banter, was I was going to talk about how like dry brushing versus stippling, the comparison between the two. That was actually a topic that I wanted to talk about because as somebody who does speed paint, I actually need to use both applications for
Yeah.
different models and different techniques. to get similar looking armor effects depending on what I'm painting. And that was something that I was going to talk about anyways. But just to keep the focus kind of on you, Steve, mentioning a little bit of, hobby burnout here, and this is something that we all kind of go through. Nobody's immune to it.
Nope.
How do you personally handle your hobby burnout? Is there something that helps you reignite that spark, or kind of remotivate you, or is it that you just have to step away fully? Like, how do you go about your hobby burnout?
I think my biggest example is when I did my orc recently. As much as it was still black, it's something colourful, or I do a project which is so out of the ordinary for me that I reignite a passion for it, because I think it's so easy.
Mhm.
If you're a Warhammer 40k lover, so easy to get burnt out because you just look at the same armour on different miniatures all the time. Like, as much as I've got a Saturnine Praetor looking at me in Space Wolves colours, it's still just another Space Marine. And that sounds
Yeah.
awful. Like, Space Marines have feelings too. But it's very easy to get lost and burnt out with it. Like, Necromunda for me has got a lot of character.
Yep.
And yes, a lot of them are power armor, but like, look at the Ash Waste guys with like the cloth and stuff like that. Incredible. But it seems to be, for me, my biggest thing is going back to an Age of Sigmar project. And
Yes.
it really does, or fantasy, either way, just something more what got me to the hobby, to remind myself of why I'm doing it. That's the biggest way I can look at it. Because, like, done my orc, I'm going to do an orc for October, even though I've only got 11 days left, to see if I can pull that off.
Ooh, you're going
But
hyperspeed.
yeah, it's I think it's definitely going to something that's enjoyable and more fun and playful. Like orcs, it's all about like green skin and getting that tone right and nice and playful, like you do with your little like trolls and rockgut troggoths and everything like that. They're all very, as much as they're dead serious, like they will destroy your enemy unit. Like, they're just very playful. Like, they're a lot more
Yeah, they're
playful
just
today.
funny.
And like, I personally, it annoys me a wee bit that I like the lizard men so much. I'd love to hammer out some Saurus warriors, but equally I know that I'd have to pick up contrast, and I can't do that to myself.
Wow.
When I do an
So
airbrush, I'll do it.
so sorry, then I have a question, because you were around back when the days of
Careful.
Warhammer was around. No, but I'm saying, like, you and I got into the hobby when Warhammer was around, which is now called Warhammer: The Old World.
Yeah, it was
What
fantasy.
makes you what makes you gravitate towards the Age of Sigmar line over the Old World line that's coming out
Oh,
now? Because you would have been around when the fantasy stuff would have been out. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious, why the Age of Sigmar line instead of the Old World line?
So as much as I love the old world, I've had this conversation with Warpgate Studios. When he gives me the Kislev army, I will go to old world. I will go back to the old world for the Kislev army. That's the one time I'll go back to it. As much as I love high elves, they
Yep.
were always my childhood, like, amazing. They were silver, white, blue, red. That was it. And they had some gorgeous sculpts, but I don't want to pay 200 of the same model.
right.
My thing with the old world is, as amazing as they are, and it's great to see it back, I don't want to do rank and file. If I wanted rank
I
and
got you.
file, I'd go to like Warlord. I'd go do
Right.
Victrix and do like your historical, where I can change the shields, I can paint Romans, I can paint Vikings, everything. I can't justify my own time to a 40-man unit of high
I
elf
get that.
spearmen. Yeah, like, that's all identical. Age of Sigmar is so creative. The model sculpts run rings around 40k. And it's just the truth. I had this conversation with someone that's going to come on the podcast, a shop owner local to me, and he's agreed that even though he stocks 70% less Age of Sigmar, he knows the sculpts are significantly better than 40k. It's just that 40k sells better in our area, and that's the only thing it can do.
Yeah.
Like, he knows
Play
it.
to the market.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, he can think it's incredible and everything like that. Like the Christmas Battle Forces, he's doing it on a made-to-order basis rather than getting them in the shop.
Wow.
Yeah, it's, like Skaven. I said to you, Skaven tempt me this year. That box set is phenomenal, like value-wise,
Yeah.
and for the fact that they look really cool. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird slope at the minute between the two games.
No, and I think a lot of people, and we've had this as a reoccurring topic as well, where a lot of people have said that some of the Age of Sigmar sculpts are some of the best Games Workshop produces hard stop. Like, there's
Yeah, yeah.
no comparison to some of these. And I think, though, the shakeup that we've seen is, and we again, this is going to be coming up on the episode with Warpgate Studio, is how the Cathay kind of did a big shakeup to the old world.
This should be Age of Sigmar.
They look
So,
so good.
okay, so you know what's funny about this? We were discussing this morning. We were saying that Cathay should have actually been put into Age of Sigmar, and that the Hellsmiths of
Heshut.
Hashut should be I think they were originally an old world army.
So
And they
used
should
to
have
be Chaos
stayed old
Dwarves,
world.
like yeah. So they used to be Chaos Dwarves, but like I think Chaos Dwarves will come back because they were Forge World spooks. They have got every intention of bringing them back, and they know that they will make a fortune.
But
Like
the
they
but
had
the
go on,
hash the Hellsmiths of I don't know how to
Hashut.
say them. Anyways, the Hellsmiths, they're based off of the original artwork of Chaos Dwarfs. That's what the sculpts are based off.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how would the Chaos Dwarfs even be different now?
So if you look at if you actually look back now at the old school Chaos Dwarves, so Infernal Guard, for example, were some of the most beautiful models, but they had like full metal masks with one eye hole, and they used to have fire glaives, and they'd have shields and like rank and file. Like the Hellsmiths of Shut are gorgeous models, don't get me wrong, but they have Age of Sigmar'd them.
No.
They are the custodes, but in Age of Sigmar.
I
But they
like
are
the bowl.
the bull's great.
Yeah, the bowl
I
is
don't know
a
why
really
I
pretty
cannot get
model.
behind them. I'm sorry. There's like I don't know, there's something about them that's like off to me. I can't describe it. Like when I
No,
look at them, I'm like something's missing.
have you
Well,
seen the cavalry? The bull centaurs, but with the sentinel heads, like the massive bull, like
Yeah.
pyramid head, but with a bull. Like that stuff's
see, those
stunning.
ones look better.
Yes.
Some of them, though, I think for Age of Sigmar, they almost look a little too plain, if that makes
No, you know what
sense
it is for
for
me?
me.
You know
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
is for me? It's the style of armor is very like
It's
it's very
symmetrical, but
boxy and
yeah.
sharp, but in a fantasy setting, I'm used to the organic flow of things.
Yeah, but then look at Stormcast. So Stormcast have got your organic flow. So now they are very much just humans with skin tight armor, is what I look at Stormcast as now. They're like humans in skinny jeans. That's what Stormcast are now. Like they are straight up are. And then, but Hashut, because they're look at like all your other dwarf factions. So you've got Caradron Overlords, which are just little fat people in suits with
The
hyper
Sky Dwarves.
steampunk. You yeah, you got Fire Slayers, which is your we slam runes into our skin, and we all look the same as your old school Slayers because we all have the ginger mohawks. And then you come to Caradron, which is it Carad? No, it's not Caradron. It's Hellsmiths, and they've got the old school. You got your old school hats. I think what they should have done more is differentiate them. So
Yes.
your spears with like they're like, oh, that little orb is so essential to Age of Sigmar. That little orb is painted differently. You are right. You could just put them on square bases and stick them in fantasy. Like you could. The difference being, I think, is their ranged units now. Like fire glaives were like 20-man squads, but they're selling them in fives. So that's where they're pushing the differentiation and the fact that none of them got helmets. If you look at the actual model breakdown, I don't think any of them in the ranged unit have helmets, which is an interesting choice, really, because oh, they can have helmets, sorry, but they've all got. You don't have any that are sealed helmets, which is a bit of a change for Chaos Dwarves. As I say, like the old school design was like sealed in. So, like, if you've seen the new Infernal cohort, the guy that's holding the mace, you know, like the
Yeah.
topless, so like his helmet with the horns, if they'd done a squad like that, I'd be all over it.
I don't know. There's something about them that's like just off to me. I can't put my finger on it.
I get what you're
But it's
saying.
like, but okay, you know what? Where the comparison with Storm? Okay, I get the comparison with Stormcast because yeah, Stormcast do have a little bit of the boxier armor. But when you look at like the big bull riding dude with the magic thing,
Yeah,
okay, that bull, I don't know, it's so boxy in its look, and I get that it's like this demon engine thing.
yeah. I think it's meant to
I
be.
don't know.
They were always creators, weren't they? Like when you look at old school Chaos Dwarves, they were always like they had the Kadai, they had the Fire Slayer, they had everything where they would like forge. They would forge
Yeah,
a demon engine. That's what it was. So it's like Vashdor, but a Chaos Dwarf. He's just made it out of jade. Like it's interesting to me that we've got that far now because when you look at any of our listeners who are Total War Warhammer fans will know this, is you've had like in the old world, you had Cathay Chaos Dwarves or Cathay Ogres Chaos Dwarves. So on the actual Warhammer map, Chaos Dwarves sit goddamn identical to Cathay and they used to fight with them all the time, which means we're
Uh,
kind of coming to a point of like the Jade for your Jade constructs. It'll be interesting to see them try not to bring Cathay to AOS now because it's all the designs are so coded to AOS, like high detail, everything like that. Like that dragon is not is not a fantasy model.
no.
Like
Yeah.
you look at the High Elf Lord on Dragon, where
Yeah.
it's like someone got a pipe cleaner, like old school
No.
sculpting. No, but it is like old school sculpting. That's like what they used to do, Kim. Like it was like pipe cleaner or like metal wire, and then they'd flesh it all out, and then they'd mold it. And
Yeah.
that's literally what they used to do. And then you look at
That
like
sounds so rough.
and now you look at it, like I saw that model and I was like, nah, that's not a fantasy model. If you bring that on a table, it's going to make every model look ancient.
Yeah. 100%.
Like, and it just doesn't fit. And I feel that I am worried for when Kislev gets a reboot because every model other than her have been a Total War Warhammer 3 STL, pulled it, scaled it, changed it.
So the rumor was the Kislev was supposed to already be out,
Mm-hmm.
but due to global conflicts that are ongoing at the
Yeah.
moment, they decided against it.
Yeah, they pushed it back because they were too politically coded. Yeah. That's supposedly what it was. Don't get me wrong, if you do want to send me an email and tell me different, then I'll happily take it, but I would like to see the designs
If
at the
they
same
want to
time.
send us a copy of the Kislev
Yeah,
stuff so we can test it ourselves to make sure that it actually was being released, we will be more
exactly
than
that.
happy to pick
If you
out
want
We'll
to,
take that.
if you want to
We'll
send us
take that
anything,
on for the community.
yeah, send us anything and everything. I'm fine with it. Because we were having this conversation at Warhammer World with me and Heresy as my therapy, and I was like, we can't have this conversation here about Kislev not belonging, about Cathay not belonging. I was like, they're listening.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it. That's it. We're going to be blacklisted for the next 2 years from any release.
So we have some fun questions that we got ready for
All
you.
right, go on then.
Yeah, to wrap things up, we're gonna bring out the thought-provoking, hard-hitting questions.
Oh, great. Remind me to throw some of these at you guys.
Okay, first up, your worst paint job goes viral, or your best never sees the light of day?
Worst paint job goes viral.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could kind of ride that wave, like being known as like the bad painter or something.
Yeah, but
Somebody's
it's
already
one
known
piece
for
of
it?
bad artwork. One piece of bad artwork, which you can then learn from. And from a piece of bad artwork in our community, you'd have so many people offer help and
That's
helping it
true.
better. Like 100% would rather have my worst piece go out there and someone say, you could do this, or I'll give you a call, we'll do this. Like, nah, 100% worst.
That's a good answer. Okay.
Would you rather paint in silence forever or with somebody screaming at you while you try to focus on painting eyes?
It's almost like they know what you do to me. Paint in silence forever.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, like straight up. As much as I used to enjoy like a Netflix show on in the background or something, I will happily sit in silence now. Like straight up, will happily sit.
Yeah, that's how I am. I need something in the background. I need like something like
Yeah, just to keep you
a good
going.
podcast.
Yeah, no, exactly that. Like I used to be all over it, but now I'm just sort of very much. I am to the point that I have to be in silence to focus.
Yeah.
Like, that's my
I
big
do
thing.
like podcasts on in the background. There's this really good podcast lately that I've been turning on. It's called the Voxcaster. If anyone is interested in listening,
Wow, that's crazy.
just a
That
little
self
self promo.
that
But
self
actually,
promo is
though,
real.
Oh,
I
is this one of the ones you wanted to ask me?
yeah,
Okay, so
actually,
there was two that Kim wanted to ask you.
Okay,
yeah, this one I've been dying to ask somebody. Would
that's
you
just
rather
somebody.
fight? So I've been dying to ask Steve specifically.
Like, there we go.
Would you rather fight one bloodthirster-sized squig or 100 squig-sized bloodthirsters?
I would enjoy the meme ability of 100 bloodthirster size squigs. Just because
Right?
it'd be the loads of cute little wings. Like that'd be it. It'd just be loads of flying cute little balls of anger.
Just picking them up and like putting them like
Yeah.
on like a tall shelf.
Like he's got a really big axe and just taking off and like, not today, sir.
Yeah, this little
You may
thing.
not use that sharp object.
I feel like at that size, I mean, they'd be like using the axe on your ankles and you'd be like,
I
do you
think it'd
mind?
still hurt. Like 100 of them would still be painful. I stand by it, still be painful.
Hey, they still have flails with giant rocks on them.
Not wrong, not wrong. Yeah, but it's better than one giant one.
You want me to ask this one?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the second question that Kim wrote, but I have to ask.
Yeah.
So Kim wanted to know, Steve, if I spend as much time doing one miniature as you do you think my highlights could be as wavy as yours?
Whoa. That is not the question I wrote down at all.
Sorry,
I'm
Kim,
taking
sorry,
back this
different.
mic.
No, go on. But what did you actually want to
No,
ask?
round 2 of the actual question. Would
Go
you
on.
rather have a pet servo skull that critiques your painting or a grot assistant that helps but constantly chews your brushes and destroys your paints?
Critique. I can take critique all the time.
A
100%.
little
If
sassy
someone bit
servo
one of my Winsor&
skull?
Newton brushes, I'd break its legs. Like, like,
Grots, look out!
My
Holy!
gosh.
you don't bite an expensive brush and think you can get away with it. No.
Yeah, your artist opus brush destroyed.
Until they sponsor me, do not put that name on this podcast. No, no.
But no, a little sassy servo skull.
Yeah, Sassy Servo's got like Space Marine 2 Max one, though, the one from the Trigon mission, where like it plays sad elevator music when you go downstairs. And it's like, you're all going to die. Like, yeah, yeah, cheers, bro. Appreciate you.
No, my favorite is the servo skulls in Space Marine 2 that in the middle of absolute chaos, literally hell spawn appearing before you. There's a servo skull in the corner that just says, remain calm.
Yeah, fair. Fair.
I'm sorry, you want me to remain calm while the literal planet is split in half.
That's everything the Cadians were told as it happened. Like, don't worry about it, guys. It'll be fine.
Right, I think that pretty much wraps up all of the
The quick fire quiz by
super
Kim.
super hard-hitting questions at the end.
That's fine.
But yeah, no, thank you, Steve, for opening up about your hobby and,
Oh, thank you.
for letting
Filling
our
in.
listeners know about your side of it and how you kind of got started. You do have lots of experience in the hobby and you have tackled, multiple different armies with multiple different paint styles. So I think that, you bring a lot to anybody who, is into, the heavy metal style or that sort of thing. Reach out to Steve if
Yeah,
Steve's the
definitely.
type of
Just
guy
drop me a
that,
message.
and if Steve doesn't have the answer, he can probably direct you to somebody who does.
Yep. There is 1,000,001 people more experienced than I, and I will always point you in the right direction.
Yeah,
If I
right.
can't answer you, I think is the nicest way.
But yeah, on that note, we just want to say thank you everybody for tuning in and listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. You all know what you're doing. So join us on this Wednesday for our book club episode 2.
Yes.
Get those pages flipping.
So on that note, thank you everybody once again. We wish you all the best.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, love
Bye.
you.
Besides me, but you gotta have friends. And the entire desk is falling apart. But you gotta have friends.